Jack, we're really committing this year.
Are we?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
No, listen, it's 3 episodes every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Guys, over the new year, we did a bit of reviewing and we thought we want to give you as much value as humanly possible. It is a lot, 3 episodes a week. I'm not going to lie, a few strains.
Yeah. Me and Jesse having to have a few more chats than we probably like together. But hey, it's all for you guys. So hope you guys enjoy. If you do, 5 stars, please. That'd be much appreciated.
We'd love it.
And we'll keep pumping them out 3 a week.
3 a week.
Bloody hell.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 p.m.
Today we're going to be talking about sourcing. Now, Jess, me and you are pretty big advocates for building face-to-face relationships when it comes to sourcing. That's probably been the most important thing for us when we've been looking at manufacturers and suppliers.
Yeah, there's no substitute.
Some of the positives, I guess, that come out of meeting your manufacturer or your supplier face-to-face include, but not limited to, getting to know the culture. So I think understanding the culture, whether that's an overseas country of where your stuff is getting made, is massive.
We've spoken a lot on this podcast about saving face in predominantly the east of Asia, or all of Asia. We've experienced it, to be honest. And saving face means within different Asian cultures, they don't want to be embarrassed by admitting they can't do something. In Western cultures, individuals are much more open to telling you what they can and can't do and where they're limited. So that's certainly one of the largest differences you'll see.
Yeah, that's a great discrepancy in terms of values, from West and East. And you'll often find manufacturers and suppliers saying yes to, different products or different requirements that you may have, then to find out that they actually can't do it, and they probably don't communicate that to you very well, if at all. So that's a big one. Understanding the cultural values, that's huge. Obviously, the environment, the working conditions, where your stuff's being made, where the fabric's being sourced, all that stuff's super important, especially today.
And you're just not going to know unless you attend the factory yourself. And that's Jack and I's number one rule with sourcing. We know it's expensive, but you've got to go out there. At the end of the day, they can send you stock images pulled from any website on the internet and show you that there's no child labour, show you that people are only working 8 to 10 hours a day when they're really
reasonable hours,
probably doing 16-hour shifts. So unless you go and see the factory, you're always going to die wondering. So that's a big thing for us, and I think moving forward, we're going to try visit our factories at least 3 to 4 times a year.
100%. Yeah, it's going to be a big thing for us because at the end of the day, trust is a huge part of this relationship, and if you don't trust in the foundations that you set up in that relationship with a supplier, then you're building a business on pretty faulty ground. So,
Jack, it's expensive at the start, buying travel costs, accommodation. But would you say it pays dividends in the long term?
I mean, I think we're probably still yet to find out, but I would like to think so. You definitely have to look long at this stuff. The capital you put into whether it's travel overseas or go back and forth on hundreds of samples is I think going to be worth it. Yep.
I think you also distinguish yourself from all the other people using that factory when you have that face-to-face relationship. At the end of the day, majority of the international factories have a lot of international customers and business relationships. So by you coming in and showing you're a stand-up person, what you stand for, what your business stands for, really helps really distinguish you from the rest. And that could be the difference between getting your orders out when you have an urgent rush of sales and you need them to halve their lead times.
Yeah.
They might just do it for you.
Yeah, it shows that you're serious about what you're doing, which is great. I want to go into, so we have a few questions that we tend to ask suppliers that we're dealing with, early days to kind of get a vague idea of, I guess, what they're about, what they specialize in.
Cut through a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, because as you know, dealing with new suppliers, whether, whatever platforms that's on, there's a lot of back and forth communication and it can get pretty blurry when you're talking to 10 to 20 suppliers. So here's a few questions that I think are well worth asking. First one is, are you a trading company or a factory? Now, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't know the difference, but there's actually a pretty big difference in trading companies and factories. So factory is essentially, they make the goods, right? So that's pretty straightforward. The factory is actually sourcing the fabric, they're making it themselves in-house. A trading company actually doesn't make the goods. It's more so like a sourcing agent or an in-between person. So it's good to be aware of the differences because there's pros and cons for both. So we're going to leave a little link in the description to a blog which sums it up really well. So if you want to look more at that, check it out. A few other questions like where is your factory located? Which port does it ship from? How many workers are in the factory? That's going to tell you how big they are. Which markets they supply. This is a really important one. It's well worth asking if they supply, markets that are similar to yours. That means they've had experience in dealing with, different regions, and that can go a long way.
I think in Australia the climate's very hot, so the cotton blends are different within our industry of fashion. So absolutely, and even things like the taxes, the duty charges, you want them to be familiar with all those processes in your country. It really helps make it more seamless.
Mm-hmm. Another good question is definitely asking for footage of the factory, like video footage, photos of other garments that are similar to yours that they've made for previous customers. This is also a good little way to try and see who they make garments for. If they send you a few photos and you recognize a few of their brands, that can often give you a bit of an insight on their quality, which is pretty important to know. Any other questions worth noting? Maybe talk about like third-party audits if that's important to you, which it should be. They'll be able to send you through any documentation on the audits they've had. I think those are the main ones, and you can come up with a few others yourselves.
I think it's important, Jack, to make clear that not everyone has the means to travel overseas instantly. I'm reflecting back when I first got into the fashion industry. There's no way I could have afforded to fly over, book accommodation. But I think at the very least, it's really important to be aware of the importance of meeting your manufacturer. And I think it's a really great medium to long-term goal for a young business to have.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, as we said at the beginning of this podcast, it's only going to benefit you in the long term. So although you might not have the means right away to just spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever it might cost you, it's a really good thing to build towards.
Yeah, and that's where you have to be really diligent with, FaceTiming, video calls. Like try to meet this person, virtually as much as possible. If that's the best you can do. But I think striving to go and visit, and it's fun, man. Like we went to Vietnam for a month last year, and it was like one of the greatest experiences ever. There was obviously a lot of work done, and we met some really amazing people, and it just opened our eyes up to a brand new culture.
Yeah, it's one of the best ways to do it because we were able to spend a few weeks, relaxing, kicking the feet up, and then a lot of weeks spent, at the coalface, in factories, hands-on. So it's almost like kill two birds with one stone, move your business forward and, get that relaxation and time away from your environment here. Jack, what we saw in Vietnam was really interesting because we visited factories from all ends of the spectrum, meaning we saw factories with 10,000 people that, had immaculate working conditions, state of the art. And then we also saw the other end. I believe there was a factory with dirt floors or sandy floors, that had no proper sort of flooring. And we realized quickly that there's just such drastic changes. And unless you're attending the factory, you're probably never going to know.
No, you won't, because I think a few of those factories that we thought were going to be really, high quality did end up being those factories with like dirt floors and probably policies and procedures that weren't up to scratch. And because, when they're just advertising or they're sending you photos, like it's easy for them to, send you maybe one corner of the warehouse that looks really nice and then the rest of it is, shocking. So,
yeah. So I'm interested to hear, about everyone's different journeys. We're lucky enough, Jack, to have a Facebook group with over 200 different brand owners in there. And if you're not in there already, that's Colour Plane Community Facebook group. It's thriving right now. People are having pop-up stores posting about that. It's a really great place to be. I think for young creators, it's that positive push and energy that you need to keep going every day on what you love. So if you're not in there, please jump in there. I think you'll love it. Jack, it's been a pleasure.
Cool. Thanks, guys.